Yeah, maybe that's why Rhys was so weird in that bonus scene. Is it from Rhys's perspective or Azriel's perspective?
It's Azriel's
maybe it's just fucking Feyre as Rhys telling Azriel to fuck
Okay, chapter 36. She's comparing this summer court to Valaris a lot.
oh yeah. Not as carefree as them.
Yeah, not as joyous as those of Valaris, but a tentative, hard-won warmth. People who endured the worst and tried now to move beyond it. Well, that's why it's different than the joyous parts of Valaris, because, like, yes, Valaris
they didn't
suffer to some extent, but not like this.
And that's the line I was looking for in the last chapter. As I should be moving beyond my own darkness is an interesting point.
Yeah, she calls Valaris home. I'd leave a note about the urgent business, thanking Tarquin for his hospitality, and then we'd vanish home to Valaris.
Yeah. It's home.
Okay. Rhys flew as close to low tide. So we already had mentioned that. So when she's in Tarquin's head, he says, "Why is she asking about the temple?" And then it says here on 347, right? Rhys flew us in close to low tide, dropping us off before taking to the skies where he'd circle, monitoring the guards on the island and the mainland while we hunted. The muck reeked, squelched, and squeezing us with every step from the narrow causeway road to the little temple ruin. And I said, whose temple originally? And then I went back to Throne of Glass. There is a temple. There is a goddess of the deep, of the ocean. It's who Rolf believes gave him the thingy on his hand.
Okay. Interesting.
Tahom is the name. And so I'm wondering if that's who that temple was originally dedicated to, was the goddess of the deep. Another fucking Asteri. Possibly.
I will also say,
just theories.
Just as we were talking about her calling Valaris home, the thing about the temple that made her not be able to look away is that she said a little piece of home, and I was like, I wonder if there's. That's kind of crazy, but it is in the same. It's in the same vicinity. She goes, "That's a little piece of home," and then 2 chapters ago, I said Valaris is in my home, and now I'm saying Valaris my home, and it's interesting. Anyway, that's kind of crackpot, but anyway,
I'm wondering though if the thing that she's recognizing as a little piece of home is not the temple, but the book.
Yes, that's what I was also wondering.
Because if she has a drop of Mala's power, if she has some sort of water affinity in her soul, and she's related to Mala, if Mala is the Asteri, and the book was created by the Asteri, then yes, it would be a piece of home.
Yeah.
Because like calls to like, real recognize real. And also the book tells her that at some point.
Yes.
The book tells her like calls to like.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about that. I'm trying to think of exactly where that is. Anyway, because the extent of how far away she should be able to feel this, it seems like honestly, this would be a perfect place to see this. Oh, you recognize it because you're using your little power that we taught you to use in the Weaver's Cottage, but actually, she's feeling it from so much further away, and it's such a deeper feeling. She said that the Rhys's item felt like a tap on the shoulder. This is it felt like home. And then I also have questions about what the book, Tarquin's magic and it's intertwined, but it is such a perfect place to be like, oh, this is just this little side mission, but actually it's like a huge implication for the entire series. And also a return of that line. I forget which chapter it was. This was a recent chapter, 33 or 34, maybe, where she said I here wearing a dress didn't mean I had to plan parties. I could wear my dress in the and then my Illyrian leathers in the morning. And so it's just it's like that fulfillment of this thing that she talked about. Which is interesting. And do you think she gave it away to do you think Tarquin, when he realized, oh shit, they stole from us, and then he thought back to this moment where she said, I almost fell to my knees to beg his forgiveness, and Reese's hand was like telling her to keep it together on her back on the 347 in the middle. Said Reese Ann's hand on my back was a solid warning to keep it together. So Reese could tell, but I wonder if Tarquin will
Mm-hmm.
later be like, or if he at that moment was thinking about it. I don't know. It was just interesting. She's not exactly a spy master.
Also, can you imagine this scene? So Tarquin kisses her on the cheek,
And
and Reese is standing right there with his hand on her back.
I'm sure it's
Like,
like a customary thing, but yeah.
yeah, but even
It's
still,
very
like
intimate.
she's been flirting with Tarquin for a fucking week, basically, and they've said it's so easy to fall in love with
Oh,
you,
it's
and
crazy.
then that,
Yeah.
whatever else. And then he kisses her on her cheek and says he wishes that it was not my last evening and perhaps he would see about visiting the night court soon. And Reese is like, this fucking guy right now.
Yeah, the warning was for Tarquin.
But that's the thing. She's saying Reese's hand on my back was a solid warning to keep it together. Maybe it's not a warning to keep it together. That's him being possessive. That's him being like, no, babe, she's not yours. You can't have her. So when she feels the thing, because you were talking about Reese's ring feels like a tap on the shoulder. She says, I can feel it like a clawed hand running down my spine.
Mhm.
It's sleeping. And Amren says, no wonder they had it beneath stone and mud and sea.
Yeah. I was wondering. Yeah.
Okay, hold on here. So they enter this room, right? They're checking the walls. They're like, I don't feel anything in the walls, but it's here. Indeed, we both looked down at the same moment and cringed. We should have brought a shovel. No time to get one. The tide was fulling out now. Every minute counted, blah, 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 blah. So they start digging in the dead center of the room. Do you know what else is in the dead center of rooms?
No.
So in the prison where the harp
Oh.
is, it's on like a dais, and on the floor is the 8-pointed star.
Mm.
Right through the 8-pointed star, when
Was where the
Bryce
Asteri
blasts through
was?
it, is where the Asteri is at the bottom. And also in the cave of princes in Avalon, the underground like things are set up the exact same way.
Mm.
Okay. Bryce says, I know where I'm going because they're the exact same layout as the ones in the home planet. Okay. Which is super strange that they would be able to be the exact same if they were not the exact same fucking place that
Oh
at a
yeah.
different time. And she goes into the room. She also sees the star pattern on the ground and she blasts through it. And that's when she finds the lower level to where she's able to go and fucking, summon, mind speak, whatever, to the princes of hell.
Mm. Okay.
So we are again in a room that we're like, what is happening here? Oh, just dig down.
Yeah, that's an interesting, at least like a slight pattern. The thing I was thinking here was kind of what we were just talking about. Like, okay, so the book itself does not belong to Tarquin. It's not like that was Reese's ring that his mommy gave
Yeah.
him, and
Yeah.
it belonged to him. But it probably also had some of his magic protecting it or some shit, and that's whatever. But this is, in theory, not at all Tarquin's. It belongs to all of Prithian. And the only thing that's Tarquin's is the spell that's binding it in place.
The box that it's in.
Yeah, but I don't know. To
Yeah.
me, it just seemed like an interesting. It's
Because they're not saying the box feels like Tarquin. They're talking about the book.
I know. Well, but then that brought me back to like, well, you're gonna be thinking about Tarquin. Is there another? Is Tarquin Starborn? Is there another reason that she has an affinity with him and that she's sensing what she thinks is his power around the spell, but is actually this other power that she's connecting to? Because also she could feel it from so much further off. She was in the Weaver's cottage before she felt a fucking thing, and it was a tap on the shoulder. Here she felt the book from like how hundreds of feet away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it seems like different and deeper. And that's her mate.
I think it's an affinity to
Or yeah,
the Daglin.
the
They
map
created
thing.
this book.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, yes, but even without that, I think it's an affinity to the Daglin.
That she's the dog, that she's like them?
Well, if okay, so it doesn't
Oh,
make
if she has
sense if
Mab's
we don't
power, then and Mab is
if she has
Daglin.
it makes sense if we try to say that like the Asteri are the gods of Throne of Glass and that she has essence of that
Yeah.
power. It doesn't necessarily make sense if we're just like, oh, she has Daglin blood. That doesn't make sense. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's very it's strange. And then once we get to the Weaver, or when we get to the Bone Carver again, and he starts in the next book, I think, or later in this book, when he starts talking about, you know, the female who is going to be his salvation and blah 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 and all the things, and that her her line runs into some
Mhm.
human, like, whatever, right? We could be thinking about Feyre and her sisters. We could also be thinking about Bryce. But we'll get to that later. But we'll think about all
Mm.
this in that context.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I was just thinking a lot about the what she's feeling and how she's feeling it and what that means. Um, and then lead.
Oh, this is why it made me think of. Nope, I lied. Um, lead. What? Lead to keep its full force in to preserve it. They used to line the sarcophagi of the great rulers with it because they thought they'd one day awaken. Yeah, yeah, that's what they do. If they're Valg,
So is that what Valg did specifically?
no, but we see, so there's iron is what thwarts magic in Throne of Glass, and iron doesn't work here, but
Yes.
lead maybe does.
Lead does. Or lead at least can contain magic or something.
She doesn't say the great Fey rulers. Okay,
Yeah.
imagine she's talking about the Daglin, right? So there's a lead door, and Amren swore lead to keep its full force in to preserve it. They used to line the sarcophagi of the great rulers with it, with the Daglin rulers, because they thought they'd one day awaken.
Mhm. Well, and the Siri do
What if
awaken.
the Sar? Yes, and there's the one Asteri that's still under the mountain
Is
right
that in
now
the lead lined
in
sarcophagus?
a
Is it a
sarcophagus.
sarcophagus? Or I thought it was like a.
It is it's a it's a sarcophagus. It's a
I thought,
it's a glass. She could see
what
through
is
it.
considered a sarcophagus? It's just like a. Like, what's different than a coffin?
Sarcophagus. A coffin doesn't have. So a coffin is a box. A sarcophagus has
Like a likeness?
an engraving, a
Okay.
likeness on the top of it, like Brannon and Elena's sarcophagus.
Okay, so that's interesting. Um, my thought was maybe Imran's scary because she's from Earth and these are the Egyptian rulers she's talking about. It would be
Maybe.
terrifying.
Tell me why I went on a fucking spiral as to how much lead, like, is there lead in the making of iron? Is there, like, I was literally looking up how to create iron. What is the lead composite? Lead is actually a contaminant and not part of what should actually be in there. That's the problem with, like, old iron things, like old iron, cast iron. You have to be careful that it's not been contaminated with lead. That's why you don't eat out of old iron, cast iron bullshits.
Hmm.
Now I know that now.
Interesting. Never.
But I was like, what about the Iron Age? How were they making iron? How was it forged? What were they using? What were the materials that they were using? How did they create this? And iron, if iron is an actual element, then lead is a separate element. Then do you put those together to create steel? I was like literally losing my fucking mind.
Yeah, I don't know any of those things.
And I don't think SJM would have done the same thing.
She would pay someone to do it, surely. It is interesting that lead contaminates iron because that has some interesting implications. Maybe iron used to work to block magic in this world, and the iron shit has all been contaminated with lead.
Well, iron and lead are both naturally occurring elements, right? And so when people are, and don't give, it could be wrong, but I'm assuming that when you're, I was gonna say foraging, you're not foraging.
Mining?
When you're mining, thank you, for iron, then lead can get into that process as well. I did not look up the full extent to the creation of steel.
Because steel is like you make that. It's not.
Yeah, steel is
Of what? Iron?
now we're gonna look. Steel does have iron. Okay, well, let's maybe spell it right, and then we'll be able to do it.
Because bronze is something that doesn't exist, right? It's just copper with some fuck shit in it.
Yeah, just copper with some fuck shit.
I don't know science, so that's the most educated I can be. That reminds me of that Bible thing.
Iron ore is smelted in a blast furnace with coke, which is pure
Hell
carbon,
yeah.
and limestone to remove oxygen and impurities. This produces high carbon liquid iron called pig iron. And then the pig iron is combined with recycled steel scraps, and high purity oxygen is blown into the furnace at supersonic speeds.
What the heck?
No, how do you just give me a fucking okay.
Search like for dummies at the end of it.
Yeah, right.
I would like to get blasted with coke.
Steel is made from iron and carbon.
Okay, iron and carbon.
Cast iron is hard, brittle material that is difficult to work with, whereas steel is malleable, relatively easily formed, and versatile. On its own, iron is not strong, but a low concentration of carbon, less than 1%, depending upon the kind of steel, gives the steel strength and other important properties. Impurities such as nitrogen, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, and excess carbon are removed. The alloy elements such as alloy elements such as manganese, nickel, chromium, carbon, and vanadium are added to produce different grades of steel. So it's basically it's iron and carbon together, where bronze would be copper.
Interesting.
Yeah, bronze is copper and tin.
Yeah, that sounds right. I know that from freaking whatever.
What game?
Not game. Mistborn.
Oh.
There's a lot of metal
nice.
shit in there.
Nice. But yeah, so I don't know. I ended up going on a fucking side quest to figure out iron and lead composites and
So
all the things, and could it be confusing and blah blah blah. But yeah, could you imagine if like they figured out that it wasn't lead? Also, these motherfuckers are just getting lead poisoning right now.
Faye or just they got stronger skin or something.
I'm just saying, you have a temple that the water comes into that has a big ass lead door.
Does that like make it go in the water and get all over them?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know science.
Their water in Prithian is unleaded, which means that they have a higher rate or higher chance of serial killers.
Huh? We want leaded water? I don't know.
We want unleaded. Oh, okay. So there's a theory. I'm sorry for my side quest. There's a theory that was put out by a number of scientists, and I can't fucking quote it right now. But there was a theory that because of the high number of active serial killers in the 60s to the 80s, they started to do a study that was looking at climate causes and things like that. So during that time, all of the gas in the United States was leaded. So we're just pumping lead into the atmosphere and breathing it in. One of the biggest side effects of lead poisoning is heightened aggression and violent acts. And that's why boomers lose their shit so fast, because they just be breathing in that fucking shit for forever.
Lead paint generation.
And so it's that in conjunction with, so then they started to look at the rates of serial killers during that time and started to compare it to the lead in the air. But then they went one step further. There is a large majority of, there's a high amount of serial killers that were active within the Pacific Northwest, predominantly around the Tacoma, Seattle area during that time as well. No, it's because Tacoma was going through an industrial surge, and they were doing industrial wash off and waste wash off into the area. So Tacoma is originally just a fucking septic tank for industrial waste. And so the poisoning effects of the industrial waste in that area, paired with the leaded air, created a number of serial killers in the Pacific Northwest.
That's so crazy.
And if you start to like track how many were here or there, whatever, there's a lot.
That's so interesting. That's spooky. I think it's also maybe a lot of pine trees. Places to hide. I'm kidding.
Yeah, oh, for sure. There's lots
Halloween
of places to hide
vibes
bodies.
up there.
It's so Halloween vibes.
Yes, but it's also Christmas vibes.
Are you okay? So side quest. Do you know the difference between there's the Hoa Hoa Halloween and then there's the Halloween. Do you know the difference between these?
One is Twilight.
The Hoa Hoa. One is Twilight and the other one is Gilmore Girls.
Oh yeah. La 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 la. I think it's la la.
Yeah, the la la. Yeah. So there's the Hoa Hoa girls and the la 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 Halloween girls.
Yes.
Which you're a la 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 girl, aren't you?
I think both.
Yeah, I mean I like both too, but I'm 100% Hoa Hoa.
I mean,
I love a.
I think
I love a spooky.
My tendencies
Twilight
are more
day.
la la la, but like I go to coffee shops all the time and I blah blah blah. But I
Yeah.
But I'm more of a mountain bitch, so I like a pine tree. So
Yeah.
I feel like my soul is more hoa hoa.
Yeah, I like when it's nice and orange like the La La days, but I want it to be overcast as fuck.
Yes.
A sunny. It pissed me off. We went our first pumpkin patch up here when we moved up here. It was like bright, and I was like, it's like fucking
summer.
Yeah, I was like, this is not. This needs to be overcast. What the fuck? It needs to be like almost raining.
Yes, I love that.
Where are the vampires right now? I don't want all of this.
They're all dying.
Luke's Diner bullshit right now. Yeah, this is true.
The
Amren shuddered and pointed. The door is sealed. I wiped my hand on the only part of me that was clean, my neck, and used the other to scrape away the last bits of mud from the round door. Every brush against the lead sent pangs of cold through me, but there, a carved whorl in the center of the door.
Mm-hmm. Wait, is this door upright or on the floor? Your thing is
they've
floor.
Already they've dug down, and then they're in the next room, and then they see the door.
Yeah, I was wondering about this marking.
Well, so we dug and dug until we were covered in salty mud that burned out countless little cuts as we panted at the stone floor and a lead door. So the door's in the floor.
There you go. That's your theory.
And then Farrah says, this has been here for a very long time. How the fuck you know that, babe?
She got some power. Speaking to her.
And then Amren says, I would not be surprised if, despite the imprint of the High Lord's power, Tarquin and his predecessors had not set foot here, if the blood spell toward this place instantly transferred to them once they assumed power.
Yeah.
And she says, why covet the book then? And she says, wouldn't you want to lock away an object of terrible power so no one can use it for evil or their own gain? Or perhaps they locked it away for their own bargaining chips if it ever became necessary. I had no idea why they, of all courts, was granted this half of the book in the first place. And I said, good fucking
I was wondering that. I was like, but actually, why are they? Because especially since, again, we had talked in the last chapter of like, why does Tarquin feel special? Why does his power sing to her like this? And we already think Feyre is something. And so it is some good evidence for a deeper connection than just, she's got his water magic.
Yeah.
Which I'm obsessed with.
And then she shakes her head and lays her hand flat on the whorl in the lead. A jolt went through me like lightning, and I grunted, bearing down on the door. My fingers froze to it as if the power were leeching my essence, drinking as Amren drank, and I felt it hesitate, question. You know what else pulls power?
The first light things?
The gates
Interesting.
that they suck the first light out of, that also has whirls and swirls marking on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am Tarquin, I am summer, I am warmth, I am the sea and the sky and the planted fields. I became every smile he'd given me, became the crystalline blue of his eyes, the brown of his skin. I felt my own skin shift, felt my bones stretch and change until I was him, and it was a set of male hands I now possessed, now pushed against the door, until the essence of me became what I had tasted in that inner mental shield of his, sea, sun, and brine. I did not give myself a moment to think of the power I might have just used, did not allow any part of me that wasn't Tarquin to shine through, because she used Tamlin's power to do it.
Yeah. That I never realized.
And she missed out on a great opportunity to sneak a little peeky into her pants to figure out what Tarquin's packing. I'm just saying.
Can you imagine the bloopers on this scene? Like, and Feyre just is like, "What the fuck, Tarquin?" And dude, if she could do that, do you realize she could just turn into anyone and just be like, her friend's going out with some guy, and she's like, "Let me check it out for you, girl." No, don't skip that one.
Then that also just opened up something. If Tamlin can be anybody, so can she.
True. She fucking sneaking in as Xanthe.
Well, she does that, but is she sneaking around as Rhys, telling Azriel to not touch her sister?
Yeah, maybe that's why Rhys was so weird in that bonus scene. Is it from Rhys's perspective or Azriel's perspective?
It's Azriel's
maybe it's just fucking Feyre as Rhys telling Azriel to fuck.
Yeah.
It's a good start of an evil Feyre arc where she's like literally stealing his image and doing shit and like.
Could you imagine if she's stealing all of their fucking images and doing shit?
There ain't no way.
The betrayal in the inner circle is gonna be Feyre.
Oh.
She's like, long con, baby.
The bitch with many faces. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, I was wondering, like, it feels, well, actually, maybe. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, so I circled primordial gloom, and I'm trying to figure out why. So I shifted back into my own skin and scrambled into the piled mud right as the door sank and swung away, tucking beneath the stones to reveal a spiral staircase, drifting into a primordial gloom.
Well, probably you just have theories about it being like very ancient, much more ancient than the Summer Court, and that's a good support.
Across the open stair, Amren's face had gone paler than usual, her silver eyes glowing bright. This happens a number of times in this chapter. She glows silver eyes. I never saw the cauldron, she said, but it must be terrible indeed if even a grain of its power feels like this. And I said, but it doesn't feel like the cauldron because that was made by the Daglin.
Oh yeah, although where are we with Amren? Do we think that she's Asteri, possibly? Because shouldn't this feel like home to her? If so, she could just be fucking Valg, which that would make a better case for it because she seems like she was sort of like a foot soldier of types, or like a Cassian / Azriel of types, as opposed to like a goddess in her own right. Like she says, like I
think she was an archangel type.
Yeah, she seems like, but like she doesn't seem like a top tier. Asteri. She seems like a ranking official type deal. Yes. So that would make a better case.
She's not the Asteri, but I think that
because there's way more Valg. There's only, well, I don't know.
No, but I think that because I mention it later in here somewhere. When we get to the next chapter, there's some serious Amren stuff happening. Yes. But Amren mentions that she was like smiting for the gods, is what she says on her own planet. Like on my planet, I was smiting people for the gods.
Yeah, I guess I remember that as like, I thought she said that she was like on the front lines in some battle, but like, I don't know. And then there was a bunch of others like her, but she was the only one who went off.
Yeah. Yes. But so I'm wondering if she's sort of like a,
maybe there's a bunch of archangels.
Yeah, something similar to that, because then the image of her when she goes into her own thing is like a halo and wings and shit. So like maybe she has some of that, like maybe she's a Thunderbird.
Yeah.
Maybe she's raw power.
Or maybe in the future of Crescent City, they perfected Hunt and made a bunch of them. That hurt my brain.
Yep. Or she's the prototype, right? Like they used that as part of like how that Hell got, because Hell, the princes say that they used something that the Asteri did and the Thunderbird to create Hunt, to create, they used the Archangel and Thunderbird powers or some bullshit and their power to create Hunt. And so Hunt's like, am I supposed to call you dad now? But like technically he like they imbued his dad with something and he knocked his mom up or whatever. It's very convoluted petri dish situation. Test tubing thing. But yeah, it's interesting that Amren says, I never saw the cauldron, but it must be terrible indeed if even a grain of its power feels like this.
Also, what you're saying about the Valg and Asteri being enemies, it would be interesting if she's Valg, if an Asteri made thing, it feels like almost like a natural enemy, like my instincts are flaring and this feels wrong and I don't like it.
Well, because they think that it's cauldron made, but it's not. It's Daglin made to corrupt the cauldron. Yeah. So interesting,
but it still feels wrong to her.
But then that could speak to the fact that she is more connected to the cauldron, and that's why this feels like a corruption. Yeah, because this book was designed to corrupt the cauldron, to make it into a weapon, and not because the cauldron in and of itself was just a thing of creation.
Although if her being connected to the cauldron, I think is way harder for me to think about because. But yeah, whatever. Anyway, she could just be an enemy of the Asteri or connected to the cauldron. Both options are available. Yeah, I didn't really have a lot of notes for this, the walking back and forth, but
there's also near freezing temperature and oiliness. We get that a lot in this chapter too. Oil. And that is, I think, so the near freezing, I'm always thinking about Hell. And so...
Well, and also, cold preserves things.
It does. Okay, but look at this. So, indeed, the power was filling the chambers. That power was filling the chambers. My head, my lungs, smoldering and drowning and seducing. So I'm assuming that she's saying it's the book's power?
Hold on.
Oh. Maybe it's the wards. So she has her hand on the thing, right? She has her hand on the lock, and she's turned into Tarquin, and it's the world, the lock is pulling stuff from her, pulling power from her.
Then it opens.
And then there's a staircase, and Amren says,
that's when she says that.
You know what she could be feeling right now is not the book. What if they're feeling the wards? And that would have been possibly cauldron made. And that's what Amren is recognizing. The whirls and the swirls. The Wyrdmarks of this place, which also doesn't make any sense because she uses Wyrdmarks in 5 minutes here.
But does she? I have a question about that.
Okay. And then she says, I drew my hunting knife and descended, one hand braced on the freezing stone wall to keep from slipping. I made it one rotation down, Amren close behind me, before Phalite danced on waist-deep putrid water. I scanned the passage at the foot of the stairs. There's a hall and a chamber beyond that, all clear. So apparently she sees this or she feels it. Amren says, hurry the hell up. Bracing myself, I stepped into the dark water, biting down my yelp at the near freezing temperature, the oiliness of it. Amren gagged, the water nearly up to her chest. After she says, hurry the hell up.
Hell with 2 L's.
But even still.
Yeah.
Fun little, right?
It's funny. Yeah. I mean, when I saw the tendrils of power in the thing, I was thinking about why can they feel it so strongly? Maybe it's just a much more powerful item than Reese's ring, obviously. Although Reese's ring has a fucking 8-pointed star, so what the fuck is that going to be later? Did you have any other thoughts? I just had one more thought for the rest of this chapter. Like honestly, when I read through all this and I was like, there's a lot of three saying things three times in a row, which I think is just a natural tendency. I don't think that's the three in a row thing, but maybe sometimes it is. I don't really know. I noted them, but I don't think they're huge deals. My only other thought was about the sentience, or this idea of this seems more sentient than other kind of magics. But did you have thoughts before that? It's kind of at the end.
I think that Hal helped seal this
Okay, and why?
because of all the cold.
Interesting.
It's near freezing temperatures. There's a lead door. I scowled at her, both of us shivering. The cold was deep enough that I wondered if I might have already been dead in my human body or well on my way to it. And we know that Celine was in contact with Adius and with the other Prince of Hell. And if not Celine, then the other sister that was in
Helena?
Yes, in Crescent City, because she built the allegedly she built the Cave of Princes as a way to be able to commune with the princes of hell without being thought like with being incognito, because she put the dead kings there. She said, I'm going to build this for Peleus and all of the men that ruled, but she was in there doing her shit, trying to fight the Asteri still. And then the dry chamber beyond was empty, save for a round dais and a pedestal. I said much like the same setup as the harp.
Interesting.
And then a small lead box atop of it. Let's be quick, yada yada. And then, though no larger than an ordinary book, the lead box seemed to gobble up the fey light, and inside it, whispering, the seal of Tarquin's power and the book. And now I heard, clear as if Amren, so now she hears the book. Who are you? What are you? Come closer. Let me smell you. Let me see you. And she says, we paused by the opposite side of the pedestal, the fey light hovering over the lid. No wards, Amren said, her voice barely more than a scrape of her boots on the stone. No spells. You have to remove it, carry it out. And then she said, the tide's coming back in. And she said, that soon, perhaps the sea knows, perhaps the sea is the High Lord's servant. I just highlighted that because I was like, that's fucking weird.
You had the deep goddess thing.
And then, again, I snatched the box off the pedestal, the metal biting into my hands, the power an oily smear through my blood.
Yes. Dude.
And then it says, an ancient, cruel voice hissed, liar, and the door slammed shut.
Yeah. See, that's just, I was just wondering, like, we've seen, like, kind of vibes of magic feel sentient, like the cauldron, right? But, like, not a lot, there's not a lot that has this level of sentience. Like, the house kind of has a sentience, and you have theories about that, but, like, not like this.
Yeah.
Like, this is very weird, and almost feels like maybe it's, like, a real Asteri is down there still.
Yeah,
or something.
And the oily thing, I feel like it reminds me of Valg, and I can't remember why, but I feel like there's something about the Valg power that feels oily. That feel like when they talk about putting the collars on, or when she's touching, like there's something when they're underneath in like the
trapped inside.
And like no, when they're in like the sewers and like all of the little Valg beasties hang out there, and there's something about that I think they use the word oily there. But there's something about it that I was like, this is not cauldron made for sure. And we know it's not cauldron made, but I don't, it's very strange.
Saying an oily smear through my blood just feels like it's reaching out to your blood.
Yeah. And then we move into chapter 37, and shit gets fucking wild. And this is the pictures I sent you of all of my annotation on the page in fucking red, like a psychotic human. It says, no, Amren screamed at the door, in an instant, her fist a radiant forge as she slammed it into the lead. And I said, her fist is glowing.
Yeah. And I don't understand what that's about.
I reached the door, sliding the box into the wide inside pocket of my leather jacket, while Amren's blazing palm flattened against the door, burning, heating the metal, swirls and whirls radiating out through it as if they were a language all her own. And then I said, what the fuck? Amren can conjure word marks. She didn't even have to write
That was
them.
my question, is because like usually you have to draw the word mark. Can you just like trace it, or do you have to actually get like a substance to make it appear? Like does
I think you need a substance, because doesn't Aelin use
That's
blood
what
a
I
lot?
thought. But then I think she did one secretly, like in the dirt. But I guess maybe the dirt forms it, so that's fine. But so Amren, so I was like, so it could just be like a power level. She's just so powerful she can conjure them out of thin air. But it also, I don't know. I was thinking maybe this is like the
But
evolved
word
word
marks,
marks that like are from a much more advanced
but
society or something.
we know that word is
Mhm.
and is the cauldron. This is the
Yes.
magic of the cauldron.
Well,
So
okay.
she can just blast cauldron magic at
Could
it.
it be that like because it's that the cauldron pours out word marks, but it could just be that word like is the mother and made the cauldron, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's cauldron magic, but that it's is similar to the cauldron magic, or is that what you're saying?
So in Crescent City, when they go to the Underking's temple, they go to the Underking,
He says
and he says Erd is a bastardization of the original name. The goddess Erd is actually Word from the other Fey homeland. And that's when before she was turned into Erd, she was just and he literally says something like cauldron, or like he says a vessel of creation.
yes, that's right, yeah.
So Erd is the goddess that word means, and that word was originally a vessel of creation, a
So the
mother.
cauldron
The
is the source of
cauldron
all word
is the
magic.
mother.
Okay, and
Yes.
not the word
Because the
magic
cauldron is the
creating
source
the
of
cauldron.
because the cauldron is the source of all.
But how can it be the source of all?
Okay, but that's the God question, right? How does God create everything if there is nothing and he is also
Yeah,
nothing? That's the same problem as regular religions.
yeah. True. Yeah, but I kind of think that the word yeah. Anyway, that's why I was wondering if
It's at least the creation of this world,
yeah, yes.
and possibly Throne of Glass's world, and possibly Crescent City's world, which could possibly be one world. Maybe Erd is the creator of this one world,
That's what
and
I tend to think, and but then I'm
and then
wondering,
it's a time jump problem.
is it word magic that makes all of it, which seems more like the case to me, and then the cauldron is just this world's form of word magic, and like
Well, the cauldron is the vessel. The cauldron is. I think that word magic it's the language of the cauldron. Just like this book is the holy tongue, right? It's the language of the Asteri. It's written in the holy tongue.
okay, so the
I
word
think
magic came first,
word.
chicken
I
or the
think
egg?
word. Well,
Oh,
maybe technically the egg came first, but
sure.
um, yeah, I think that word is the language of the cauldron. The cauldron is the tactile
Yeah.
thing, but its magic, its language, its ability to create is through word.
Okay. Interesting.
The cauldron would just be a fancy bowl without word.
Okay.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're kind of, it's like a Father, Son, Holy Ghost situation. They're together, but they're separate, and they're kind of, we just say it's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
They, not we, not me, but they.
Okay. And so you just think she's using regular word magic even though she's not writing them, and that's just because she's more powerful, or because it's a more advanced form of word magic? Like I was thinking evolved word magic, like this she's from the fucking future, and where they've done things to I
No,
don't
I
know.
think she would be from the
Well,
past.
that's
I
what
think
would make sense.
no, because right, like if we're using our world as a
Uh-huh.
template, right? We always say that the ancients were much closer to the gods than we are now, right? Our modernity separates us from God,
Okay.
right? And so and science separates us from magic, modernity separates us from the gods. And so Crescent City would be even that much more separated.
Yes.
And that's why the cauldron word turns into Erd, turns into this goddess. It's just a fey goddess. It's just a thing,
Mhm.
right? Whereas in its older version, and we know that the cauldron actually exists, perhaps there's a much stronger connection, because even in Throne of Glass, right, it's like people, like, she's learning the word language, right? She's learning it from Nehemiah,
Mm-hmm.
because those in, I can't remember where she's
Ilwe,
from.
Ilwe, yeah.
Ilwe.
I never know
Ilwe.
how to say it, but yeah, that one.
But like that royal family is well versed in
Mm-hmm.
it. So they've kept the tradition alive. But yeah, so I don't it's strange for me to try to bridge the gap between the places that I think that Amren could be connected to Daglin, have worked for Daglin, have served the Daglin as gods in another world, or is, at some point I will get there, blessed by or is one of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
But also does this and identifies the magic somewhere, either the magic of this temple, because we think it's the book, but it could just be the wards of this temple, this lead,
Mm-hmm.
all the coldness, the oiliness, right? Something about that could be what Amren is gagging at,
Yeah.
right? And maybe not the book itself. But there's something about this that it's a weird space where she seems a little too connected to both.
Yeah, it is interesting.
And it raises a lot of questions because she just blasted her hand, her whole body fucking glows, right? Like her hands glow, and she has these word marks that are coming out of it. And we know that word marks glow, right? She's pulling from this power within her. This is her power. She has word power. But what the fuck does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is it because it's part of creation, and technically the Daglin could have had access to it too, right? If you learn the language of the gods, how can you should be able to harness it,
Yeah,
and then corrupt it. But it's very
mm-hmm.
strange.
Specifically, the part where she's not writing it is the thing that really gets me. But yeah,
And then my feet connected, and I pushed up, gulping down air, scanning the dim chamber for Amren. She was clutching the threshold, eyes on me, hand out, glowing bright.
yeah.
She's glowing. Says, and then I shoved through the archway, Amren slipping around the threshold just as the door rolled shut again so violently that I wondered at the power she'd used to push it back. She uses word marks to push it back. Just like Aelin uses word marks to lock doors, Amren's using them to open them.
Mm-hmm.
But Amren held out a palm in front of us. So she says, okay, so she says, go. So she puts Amren on her back, right? She piggybacks her, right? She says, just do what you have to. I gritted out, neck craned above the rising water, not too much further to the stairs that were now a cascade. Where the hell was Rhysand? But Amren held out a palm in front of us, and the water buckled and trembled. Not a clear path, but a break in the current. I directed that kernel of Tarquin's power, my power now, towards it, the water calming further, straining to obey my command. So Amren is busting out her glowy hand, and Feyre is also using Tarquin's power to calm the waters.
Mm-hmm.
Amren beat at my hands until I let go, until I swam after her, trying to calm my panicking heart, my lungs trying to convince them to make each second count as Amren reached the door and slammed her palm into it. Symbols flared again and again, but the door held. And I said again, how can she just wield word marks?
Mm-hmm.
And the symbols aren't working. I reached her, shoving my body into the door over and over, and the lead dented beneath my shoulder.
No, maybe because it's a lead door. It's the lead door, and the other door wasn't lead. But is lead the thing in Throne of Glass? No, iron is in Throne of Glass.
Iron is. Maybe it's an iron door. Maybe they don't know what the fuck lead is.
No, because she can like smash. Amren could tell it's lead, so I believe Amren. But maybe, yeah.
And then I had talons, not claws, and I sliced and punched at the metal. She conjured Rhys's beast form.
Okay.
Not, because she said not claws.
Yeah, I was.
Right? She uses Rhys's, not Tamlin's.
And also, how do the water wraiths rip this out? Is it just easier?
That's what I said.
Maybe it's just like, oh, because you're on the inside, so all the pressure, and if you're on the outside, it's easier. But it does seem like crazy.
Yeah, I said, and then the door ripped away, and I said, "How can the water race just open the door?"
If they're so powerful, why don't they fucking make their life? they're, it seems like they're
Right?
not very well off and not very powerful, and that's why they get like taken advantage of. But
Mm,
Jesus, they are
yeah.
powerful, I guess.
And then our sister's debt is paid, yada yada. Um,
And they just punch her.
okay, so then this also speaks to maybe Amren being connected to the cauldron, even though in 2 minutes I'll say that she's an Asteri.
Hmm.
Um, so a shadow blocked out the sun. Reese is there. Where the hell were you? She demands. You two set off every damned trigger in that place. I was hunting down yada yada, right? Amren hissed that place, not the book. Why? So she says, or that damned book. But that place, or the damned book, nearly nullified my powers. We almost drowned. She says the place did it.
Yeah.
Not she goes, or maybe the book. But that speaks to maybe it's the place's power.
Yeah, I'd like the theory that
A
hell is
a possibly a hell created
or just like
temple.
yeah, because we've got a lot of players like the Asteri made the book.
Or even a Valg created
Yeah,
place.
because it's something. There are things that she recognizes and things that she doesn't. The actual book, she sees like it's her holy tongue, but then all the rest of it is like this feels wrong and this feels weird, and then she's like losing her
Yeah.
power. So there is clearly multiple power
Yeah.
sources.
And then his gaze shot to me. I didn't feel it through the bond, and she says it probably nullified that too, you stupid bastard. And I said, if she uses cauldron word power and the book nullifies it because it was Daglin made, and that in the book they're going to use the book to nullify the cauldron. That's the whole point of getting this book, is to nullify the cauldron so that the cauldron isn't used to take down the wall. So the book that nullifies the cauldron's
It's
power
nullifying Amren,
is nullifying Amren's
but
power,
not
but not
Feyre's, because
Feyre's.
Feyre's just not powerful enough to like fuck shit up yet, because she's not very trained. Like if Pharaoh was full powered high lady, would she have just blasted the door and been like "fuck you," or maybe it was nullifying her powers too? She never speaks of anything feeling like it was draining, except for the actual like lock. Maybe she was just tired from
Except
that,
for the
and so
lock.
Amren's job to get them out. But
Maybe.
hmm,
It nullified the bond.
oh yeah. But the bonds are cauldron made bonds, right? It's the cauldron who makes
Yeah, made
maids.
bonds. It is.
Hmm. God, my brain feels like that. You know the meme with the red tape.
With the
Uh-huh.
um the dark wind was cold and roaring, and I had barely enough strength to cling to him. There was something about this, right? It gave out entirely along with Amren's, and we landed in the townhouse foyer, and we both collapsed on the wood floor, spraying sand and water, and Cassian's like, what the fuck? Um there was something about the dark wind was cold and roaring. So he's winnowing,
Uh-huh.
right? And it's dark wind and cold and it's roaring, and I had barely enough strength to cling on to him. And then it says it gave out along with Amren's what?
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
Yeah, it gave out entirely along with Amren's, and I was like, I don't know what of Amren gave out. And then she laughs because she's explaining the tithe, and Amren says only an immortal with a mortal heart would have given one of those horrible beasts the money. It's so. And then Amren laughed at her. Again, the dark hair plastered with the sand and seaweed. For a moment, she even looked human. Whatever luck you live by, girl, thank the cauldron for it. And the others were watching, and I felt the chuckle whisper out of me. And then this is where this page gets really messy because I have lots of notes.
Okay.
Actually, I don't. I just have one note based on this thing down at the bottom.
Yes.
So they're cracking up, fucking losing their mind, and Reese is like, ladies, and they're like, fuck off, dude. And then so then the book says, hello, liar, and she says, hello, will you read me? No. The others didn't say a word, though I felt their confusion simmering in the room. Only Reese and Amren watched me closely, so maybe the others don't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Open, I said silently. Say please. Please, I said. The book was silent. Then it said, like calls to like.
Yeah.
Open, I gritted out. Unmade and made, made and unmade. That is the cycle. Like calls to like.
The cycle.
I said, I said because Feyre's made and the book is unmade because the book was designed to to undo things of the cauldron. And then I wrote, let's see if this makes any sense. If the book is Daglin made and like calls to like, does that mean that Feyre is anti-Daglin, or that they used a cauldron to make it? Like, how can, and but then I said, why would the cauldron allow the making of a book that would change its powers? And then if the Daglin slash Asteri are the gods of Throne of Glass and Feyre has Mab's power, then like could call to like, which I've said before.
If Mab is an Asteri,
If Mab is an Asteri and the book is created by the Asteri, and Feyre has Mab's power or a small affinity to it, then then this book saying like calls to like could be acknowledging that Feyre has some of the blood that of the creators of this book.
yeah. No, I think it is something in Feyre that's doing that. Even at very say not a single one of our theories is even close to the realm of true. It's just the High Lord's powers could whatever, sure. But I thought I was really interested in the idea that it's a cycle, made and unmade and made, made and unmade. I don't know. I don't know, but I was just like, that has got to mean something. That's like the first thing the book really says, besides liar and hello liar and say please. It's the first piece of information the book gives us as the explanation for like calls to like.
I mean, that's also a fancy way, right? It's a stylized way of saying the cycle of death and rebirth, right? Made and unmade.
I don't necessarily,
because
being made in this series is like unnatural. Like it counters, like there's and honestly, it's interesting because like the magic of this world, like most creation myths are not an object made the whole world, because that's not spiritual hippie. That's like it's like if I said I turned on my remote and then a world came in. That's like kind of what that is, Like, and it's kind of a weirdly.
Do you know who else is partly made now though? Bryce and Hunt. Bryce has the horn. And the horn was made by the Daglin, but it was made with the cauldron. It's cauldron made with Daglin hands,
so being imbued by that then makes you made?
Yes. Okay. And because at some point, it's either Amren or it's Nesta who looks to Bryce and says, made. And Bryce is like, I don't know what the fuck made means, but I'm gonna not say shit about it.
Made literally means cauldron made. Okay. Duh.
Yes. And when Bryce and Hunt are banging, they power share, right? Like their power, the essence of each other seeps into each other. And Hunt even says, I felt a piece of her power, the thing that she said was made. And then he uses that piece of his made power to control the mask. Because he puts the mask on when he thinks Bryce is dead. When he jumps into the black hole to save her.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. I don't know, but I think this is going to come back, and because I also am thinking about Rhys's death has yet to play a role, and technically he's made the same way that Feyre's made. He's got a drop of. Anyway.
Yeah.
Wait. He was brought back by a drop of. He was brought back the exact same way. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just like, there's the cycle. That's I don't know. To me, that's what is it? The gun. It's a gun.
Yeah. And then it says, I pushed my hand harder, so tired I didn't care about the thoughts tumbling out, the bits of pieces that were a part of and not a part of me. Heat and water and ice and light and shadow.
She gives it like an offering mentally. Of like, it's like she lets it into her mind or something.
Yeah.
And also, I was wondering, then it says, Cursebreaker, it called to me, and it clicked open. Why does Cursebreaker make it
Starborn? If this temple was made by the princes of hell at the behest of the Starborn princess, to hide this book of the Asteri. Then perhaps the box recognizes like calls to like, she's starborn, and that's why it trusts her to open.
Yeah, and she thinks she's showing it all the pieces of her, but she's actually getting to that deep part that she doesn't even know about yet, which is her original starborn power that she was born with in her human body. And
Is it Cassian who said I never want to hear that voice again?
right
Okay.
underneath Cursebreaker.
Yeah, I know. It's weird the way that it's written. I was like,
Oh.
for some reason I thought that it could be Feyre.
No. Yeah, no. Also, I was thinking also maybe it's like a fate kind of bullshit. Like maybe it's Cursebreaker in the future and not just, we would think, oh, Cursebreaker because she broke the curse from Amarantha, but maybe the book like knows some shit.
Yeah.
And it's like yeah. It's interesting.
It was not a book, not with paper and leather. It had been formed of dark metal plates bound on 3 rings of gold, silver, and bronze, and each word carved with painstaking precision in an alphabet I could not recognize. Yes, it indeed turned out my reading lessons were unnecessary. Reese left it inside the box as we all peered in, then recoiled. Only Amren strained, staring at it, the blood drained from her face entirely. What language is that? Moore said. I thought Amren's hand might have been shaking, but she shoved them in her pockets. It is no language of this world, because it's the Daglin's language. Only Reese was unfazed by the shock on her face, as if he'd suspected that what the language might be, why he had picked her to be a part of this hunt. What is it then? Asriel asked. She stared and stared at the book as if it were a ghost, as if it were a miracle, and said, it is Lashon HaKodesh. Why can't I speak Hebrew right now? It is Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue. It's literally Hebrew for holy tongue, by the way. Okay, so if the language of the Daglin is referred to as the holy tongue, and holy tongue could mean language of the gods, then the Daglin are gods.
And also Amren's not their enemy.
Nope. Because he says, those quick silver eyes shifted to Rhysand, and I realized she'd understood too why she'd gone. Rhysand said, I heard a legend that it might be written in the tongue of mighty beings who feared the cauldron's power and made the book to combat it. Mighty beings who were here and then vanished. You are the only one who can uncode it.
That's very clearly Daglin.
And he doesn't say, you're the only one who's also here that came from another world, so I thought that you could uncode it. He said, you're the only one who can uncode it. He just said, you're part of those mighty beings. It was Moore who warned, don't play those sorts of games, Rhysand. He said, it's not a game. It was a gamble that Amren would be able to read it, and a lucky one. Amren's nostrils flared delicately for a moment, and I wondered if she might throttle him for not telling her his suspicions, that the book might indeed be more than a key to our own salvation. And then Rhys says, I thought, too, that the book might also contain a spell to free you and send you home, if they were the ones who wrote it in the first place. I said, so she's one of the gods then? Because Mala bound herself to a human body, or to a mortal body, just like Amren has. And then, right, I thought too that the book might also contain a spell to free you, to send you home. The only thing the gods in Throne of Glass want is to go home.
Yeah. That links the gods and the Asteri as well. And it seems like she's Asteri here from like reading. Like that was my initial second read through. This is like third read
or
through.
At least something of that world, right? The same way it's like the Stygian spiders are Valg, but they're not like the big Valgs, right? Like something like that.
I was also thinking about how she drinks blood, and I was like, maybe that's her form of first light, but
yeah, could be. Her mouth tightened, yet her eyes were blazing bright. Thank you. She has quicksilver blazing eyes. Do you know who else has silver fire eyes.
Nesta?
2 other people and 1 other person.
Who?
Aylin's eyes blaze with silver fire when she is taken over by Deanna. Deanna has silver fire eyes.
That is interesting.
I said, what if Aylin is Deanna? What if that was why they were able to turn Mab into her? Because Deanna was lost long ago. What if she was the Asteri who was unlike all the others and was curious about the worlds? And didn't
Amren
like
being
all the
Mab is a
smiting.
sick ass theory. Because
Amren being Deanna.
well, but Mab was
and
turned
then
in.
Mab,
Yeah, it actually already links
Yeah,
the
but,
gods and Asteri anyway. If yeah,
yes, and so
that's good.
what I'm saying is that what if she was she's Deanna, and in their smiting that happens, right, that she talks about later on, she says, I was smiting for the gods or whatever, that she sees a portal open and she was a curious little bitch, and so she went. So maybe Deanna yeeted herself out of all of the Asteri bullshit. She was like, I don't like this, I want to go somewhere else. So she goes somewhere else, and because Deanna is absent from the actual gods, when Maeve comes in and does her bullshit, she knows, oh, I can attach Mab to this Asteri because it is something that exists, and I'll just say that that was her because she's gone.
Although, who would the actual Deanna who took over Aylin and did that shit in Empire Storms be? Somebody else?
Amren.
So you think this is in the past?
I think that there's a good argument for Throne of Glass being the oldest.
Okay.
Then Prithian, then Crescent City. I also think that there's a good argument to be made that Prithian is the oldest. And then they go into Throne of Glass to do some shit. The gods do. Then they bring people over to Crescent City. And then in the time that the Asteri are gone from Throne of Glass, because the magic gets locked away and they get shoved, or well, whatever. Maybe they get shoved out, but that would be that they would got shoved out with Aylin. There's an argument that says that Prithian is first, and then the Crescent City is next. And then once the first light goes out in Crescent City, they have to revert back to old tech, to no tech. And that's what Throne of Glass becomes. And that's when they become Valk. But then that would mean that the Asteri, the gods, were still trapped there. So no, I think it goes Prithian, Throne of Glass, Crescent City.
Well, I still think there's the issue of, okay, so like Mab, when she was alive / before the events of Throne of Glass, gets conjoined in identities with Deanna. So that would mean that's when Deanna left. And so it could be that another being.
No, that means no, Deanna was long gone before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So but like that means that there was a being who's claiming to be Deanna that like helped Aylin and like almost fucked shit up trying to kill the ships. And so
could have been Mab.
The actual Mab?
Maybe.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange. The answers need to be had. Or maybe she's just blessed by Deanna. Aylin's blessed by Deanna, right? Yeah. Deanna can bless people. She can give her some of her powers, right? Mala, when Aylin is doing her little fucking fall through the world bullshit, she gives her a kernel of her power. So maybe Amren just has a kernel of Deanna's power.
Yeah. That is interesting.
And then 10,000 years in exile alone. I don't know, man. It's fucking questionable as shit. And then, even if the book can nullify the cauldron, there's Jurian to contend with. When Jurian gets reborn, is he made now?
Yes. Is
he going to live forever? He going to have an immortal life?
That's always what made means, but yes.
But he's going to have he was made the same way that Miriam is made, where she's still immortal, still has a mortal body, but she just has like a fey lifespan now?
I don't know. But he is definitely like made.
Yeah, and then there's some like little hints at Miriam that I don't want to get into yet, but I did already highlight that there's some weird Jury and Miriam something happening, right?
Also, it's interesting that they think that isn't Jurian like the leader of the humans, or no, he's just a general?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes.
like they really think that somebody who died for their cause is gonna be just like, I gotta get my old girlfriend back. Something about that
and
seems
that's why
weird.
they were like, that's why they said, like, why resurrect him in the first place? And how does that keep him bound? What does the king have over Jurian to keep him loyal, right? Because the war was between the king of Highburn.
Yeah, but then Rhys says he'd do it to get back on at Dracon. And I was like, you think he's that petty? Rhys thinks he's that petty? He knew him, I guess. That's like Amarantha levels of petty.
Can humans have mate bonds?
I think so. I mean, Feyre and Rhys do, unless Feyre's not ever human.
What if they're a mate bond that she turned down for Dracon?
That would be a good case for it. Also interesting if Cauldron makes the mates and Cauldron made Jurian again. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And the odds are Jurian believes Miriam is gone, and who better to raise his former lover than the king with the cauldron able to resurrect the dead?
Mm-hmm.
And then he'd do it, and then he says, would Jurian ally with Hybern just because he thinks Miriam is dead and wants her back? And he said he'd do it to get revenge on Dracon for winning her heart. And he says we'll discuss it later. And Feyre's like, you knew that eye? Weird.
You didn't tell me you did the eyeball.
Yeah. You were friends with him? Weird. And then across the table, I lifted my gaze from my clothes and found Rhysand's eyes already on me. I inclined my head slightly and lowered my shield only long enough to say down the bond to the dreams that are answered. A heartbeat later, a sensual caress trailed along my mental shields, a polite request. I let it drop, let him in, and his voice filled my head. To the huntress who remembers to reach back for those less fortunate, and the water wraiths who swim very, very fast.
Mm-hmm. Very cutesy little line. Smooth, Rhys.
2.5 hours later.
Well, good thing we started early.
Yeah, for sure. I went on a lot of tangents.
I got up like 15 times. Wait, so next week, actually, let's look really quick and see.
Are we doing 38 and 39 next week, or just 38?
Oh, they go to the human lands at the end of 38, and then I think it's okay. So yeah, I think it's just two little like kind of passing chapters, like just hanging out in Valaris. The dream scene, naked Rhys dream.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so yeah, let's do 38 and 39 together, since they kind of go together. Cool. And then, 39 or 40 will be like I assume that's just the human and the queen's meeting.
The meeting.
And I probably end, that chapter probably ends with the end of that meeting, I'm going to guess, I think.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so we'll do 38 and 39 next week.
To the stars who listen, we will see you next week.